Well, we all know that Marvel's always trying to make new movies they've never made before, always exploring different genres. And they did it again with this one. Let's talk about Eternals. What up, party peoples? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for coming back to some more popcorns. Well, I saw Eternals last night, and I was hugely satisfied. Partly because it was what I was expecting. Now let me just start off right away saying that this movie, I have a feeling, is going to be one of those 50-50 Marvel films. And not because some people are going to be like, it's bad. I'm just not sure that the content is going to interest as many people, especially kids. And honestly, that same thing happened in the comic book world when the Eternals were first initially introduced. In 1976, Jack Kirby created the Eternals. And if you don't know who Jack Kirby is, he's an icon and pioneer in the comic book industry, creating legends like Spider-Man with Stan Lee. In fact, he created a lot of characters with Stan Lee and sometimes is a little overshadowed by Stan Lee. Not that I don't love Stan the Man, because I do, but Jack Kirby was one of those guys that was just as influential. So in 1976, Jack Kirby, for lack of better words, stirred the pot up in the Marvel Universe. He decided, I just want to add all this new lore. And that's where the Eternals came in. The Celestials, the Deviants, all that stuff. And in 2006, Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. revamped the whole series for a modern audience. But all in all, the Eternals were not something that was an ongoing series like Batman or Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four. They were always miniseries. They were always inserts to sort of add this new gravity to the lore of the Marvel Universe that does connect to everything. It just gets way more galactic, even more so than Guardians of the Galaxy. So when the Eternals were introduced in the comic books, honestly it wasn't attracting a lot of the younger readers that wanted capes and Captain America and shields and Iron Man and all that stuff. But it was attracting mature readers. The contents inside the Eternal books were so much more in-depth than what you had read with Spider-Man and just other comic book superheroes. This was something that was a little higher brow. I actually like to compare it to Watchmen a lot of the time, because it was meant to be sort of a social commentary, a reflection of us, just in a fictional storyline. Same way Alan Moore did Watchmen. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of give you that rundown of what the story of Eternals was to the comic books in the first place, and how I think this movie did a really good job of bringing that to the screen. I really do think this movie is gonna be a very polarizing film in the sense that some people are gonna fully get it. They're going to get the meaning, they're going to get the layers, they're going to understand the message behind it, because there is a great message behind this movie. And then you're going to have the other people that are like, but it's not Avengers, it's not Spider-Man. And I'll agree with you, it's not that, because it's not trying to be. If I had to describe this movie in one statement to somebody and they said, so what did you think, what was Eternals? I'd say it's basically Marvel's first epic. It's their first attempt at like a Lord of the Rings type movie. And I think they succeeded. Chloe Zhao's directing this, who did Nomadland last year and got all kinds of awards for that. And I think she does a really good job with this movie. This is her first real big budget picture. It's visually stunning. Like I said, there's a lot of depth and layers to it, all kinds of double meaning to things that you're seeing that like, wow, this is very artistic. It's poetic in a lot of ways. And not to bring back Dune, that I didn't think was all that great. All the elements about Dune that I didn't like, all the elements that I thought that were missing, this movie had. This movie lets you get to know the characters in a way to where you actually cared about them. And there was a lot of characters. It was a big cast to deal with, and they did a really good job of actually connecting you to all of them. The exposition, in my opinion, was just really well done, and it did enough to the characters to where I understood who they were, I understood where they were coming from, and I cared about them. I got who they were. But I think one of the main things about this movie that some people are going to be like, what? Is it sort of flips the script on everything you know about the Marvel Universe. And I'm not giving any spoilers here, but it does add all this extra just sort of gravitas to everything that it's just like, man, this is make Thanos look like chump change. But it works. And I think one of the reasons they didn't release this movie in the summertime is because they knew it wasn't that Spider-Man type popcorn blockbuster comic book movie. They wanted something that was going to last through the ages more, that you can watch 20 years from now and still get and feel the message it's trying to put forth. And I really like that about this film. In fact, my favorite part about the film is that it really was trying to say something. And it also felt like a journey from start to finish. It felt like an act 1, 2, and 3, but I felt like I went on a journey with these characters. And again, not trying to bring back Dune, but I didn't feel that journey. I didn't feel like I was on this adventure with them. Just felt like I was being fed a lot of information. In this movie, I feel the adventure, I feel the journey, I feel the wisdom in these characters that have been alive for thousands of years. And the characters are all completely diverse. I mean, all across the board, from having different accents to being from different places from the world. Overall, in my opinion, really trying to achieve a cast of characters that represents the entire world. We are all people. and I like that. The movie's very complex, like I said, lots of layers to dig into, not just with what's happening in the plot line, but the characters themselves. The characters all represent something, an emotion or a struggle that we all deal with inside as humans. It's just really poetic and well done, and like I said, 20 years from now, I think it's still going to be very highbrow. But it's not a popcorn superhero-ish movie. Even though it's about superpowered people, it's just the whole lore and the storyline behind it is way more serious and it's way in depth. The way that they just exist and why they exist is just on a way different scale than you've seen with the other Marvel films prior to this. The music was great though, like I said, visually it was awesome, and there was some really good comic relief in there too. Some of it didn't work here and there, but the times it did work, Kumail Nanjiani's hilarious with everything.
Hey, who's your gardener?
But his assistant that he brings along in the movie, who's like filming and documenting the whole thing, you just have to see it, I don't want to give spoilers. That guy was hilarious, and there's a moment with him that got me truly emotional, and like, it was a meaningful moment in the movie. You just have to see it, but remember, Kumail Nanjiani, who plays Kingo, his assistant in the movie was great. It tells a fictional story about all these superpowered people that have a purpose in the universe that also connects with us and our humanity. It's something that we can really feel. And it's also incorporating history lessons of what's really happened in our world. It's just really well done. I was very pleased with it, and I always appreciate a movie that's truly trying to say something. Not that I need every movie to say something, I don't. I can have fun with movies that are just trying to have fun. But I do like it when movies try to say something, and this one did. They do a great job of tying it into the existing MCU universe you're familiar with, but it's not just a bunch of fan service, and they're not just doing it to do it. It actually has a reason to connect. The one negative thing I do have to say about the film is that I think that in the beginning, about the first 35-40 minutes, the pacing was just a little off. I was actually worried that I was going to be disappointed with the film. But something happens to where it clicks, they get their pacing, and now the movie just sort of takes its shape and picks up, and you start to feel it, you start to get it, and by the end of it, you're really invested, and the action's good too, but it's not fully shoved down your face action. The action is there when it needs to be, and it's good action, it's just not shoved down your face, because it's a deep story, it's more than that. It's got something to say. And like any other Marvel movie, there's some post-credit scenes. There's one right when the movie starts to end, and then one after the credits completely. I'm not gonna spoil anything, I'm just gonna say this. One of them's really sexy. So at the end of the day, I give Eternals an A-. I felt this movie. I got it, it hit me, and it worked for me. It's a story about forgiveness, about understanding. It's slightly Shakespearean tragedy here and there, but ultimately it's about love, family, and why we actually all exist on one planet to begin with. I say go check it out, guys. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Look for BrassReel Brothers on Facebook. Look for Bobby Williams on Facebook. Look for BrassReel Brothers on Twitter. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns.
I bet you've built the perfect safe house. I mean, what's this even made of? Vibranium?
Fall collection. IKEA.